This episode of Good Vibrations discusses topics related to suicide and depression. If you or someone you know is suffering with depression or suicide, reach out and talk to someone who can help. For detailed information, visit depression.org.nz. If you'd like to talk to someone within New Zealand, you can call Lifeline on 0800 543 354 or the Suicide Crisis Helpline on 0508 828 865. The Good Vibrations podcast is made possible by sponsorship from the Phoenix Light Foundation. Visit thephoenixlightfoundation.co.nz for more information.
Hello and welcome to Good Vibrations NZ. I'm Phyllis Brown, your host for today's show, and lovely feedback from our beautiful guest last week who talked about the monarch butterflies, and I have to say we're all quite astonished at all the information she brought forward, and I think we'll look at our garden slightly differently from here on in as to how we can provide a safe habitat for these beautiful creatures. So this week we are talking to Chris Bennett, an extreme sportsman and charity fundraiser. I didn't actually know what else to call you, Chris. Hello and welcome.
Thank you. I think you've pretty much got it there.
So I mean, we've just known each other just a short while, just through the networking group that we go to here in Rolleston. So I thought if you just tell the listener a little bit about yourself, just who you are, what's your passion, and why you do what you do, but we'll take it in small chunks.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for having me. Okay, so yeah, extreme sports. Pretty much anything that involves either a mountain bike, kayak, navigation through the mountains we've got here in New Zealand, right down to running marathons for fun.
Yeah.
I think fun's a word when it comes to some of this stuff. And I got into this probably about 4 years ago. I decided that I was going to make a change to my life.
Yeah.
Reasons being mental health wasn't great.
Yeah.
And it was time to sort of evaluate life and work out where I wanted to go and where I was going pretty rapidly. And I didn't like the path of where I was going pretty rapidly, and it was time to steer away from that and become a more balanced person, shall we say.
So in that lead up to that point where you sort of could see that your life was maybe going in a direction that wasn't healthy, what was your lifestyle like? Were you a sports person beforehand, or was it, I don't know, were you a sports person? Were you just shut off? Did you shut yourself away?
So April is a month that resounds with me quite as throughout quite a considerable amount of my life.
Yeah.
When I was 17, unfortunately my uncle committed suicide.
Right.
And it was at that point I realised that I had been not necessarily as stable as I should have been.
Right.
And I knew obviously he had mental issues, and that affected me very much deeply at the time. I was playing cricket in the UK, and that was my passion and my job, and really enjoyed doing that. And that period of time I sort of looked at what I was doing, sunk my life into my sport, and pretty much was just going along with how things were. April again, 2001, I had just got married, and my wife at the time was pregnant, and we just bought our first house, and I just signed some contracts, and everything was looking quite rosy, and I had a car smash.
Right.
Ended up breaking my neck and my lower back.
Right.
And that was the end of sport.
Right.
I was told at the time it was probably the end of being able to walk, do pretty much anything. It was, it was bad. It was and at that point, everything just came crashing down. Life just really became a chore, shall we say. I was in traction for 6 weeks with Halo, which is bolts into the head and keeping my neck still. My back had been injected into to paralysed legs because they didn't want that moving because of the bone damage, and it was slowly taken away, and then I was told we've got some work here.
Yeah.
3 years down the line, from that point, it was lots of physio, lots and lots of physio. I was constantly just being beaten up, as I felt. Chiropractors, back specialists,
yep.
pretty much anything they could try and throw at me to get things going. And it was a slow, long road. And unfortunately, in those 3 years, I went from being very fit, very healthy, to someone who was still eating the same foods, not doing any exercise, and then also someone who started drinking.
Right, okay.
And drink became a bit of an issue.
Yep.
And I found, or tried to find answers at the bottom of bottles. That they weren't there, but so I go and look for another answer.
Yep.
And so on and so forth, and the cycle continued. Once the physio done its work and I could then start moving again, I came out to New Zealand on holiday from the UK. And we came out here just as a holiday. That's all it was going to be. 3 months in the North Island, 3 months in the South Island on a camper van, driving around. And I came here and just fell in love. This place was just like home. It felt to me, this is my home. And on the way back to the airport in Christchurch, I turned to the wife at the time and said, I'm not going, I'm staying here.
Right.
This is right. This is where I'm meant to be. I can make a change here, make a positive change, because there was lots of things in the UK that reminded me of everything that was going on.
Yeah.
So, and this was my first real eye-opener or break away from it all, and so I stayed. She went home.
Yeah.
Sold the house, came back, and in that time I managed to find a coaching job, coaching cricket, working for Canterbury Cricket, looking after some schools and some of the players there, and found a nice role.
Found your niche.
Found a role that I enjoyed doing for a bit.
Yeah.
So that's where that took me to that point. I still wasn't playing sport.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It was my back was still playing up, my neck was still playing up, and I was just but I was giving something back as far as I could see, and it was giving me some reward back.
Yeah. I think it's difficult, isn't it? I think with back injuries, we've talked a little bit about my husband. His spine was broken in the army at the age of 19, so he was medically discharged from the army and told that he would be in a wheelchair by the time he was 24.
Exactly the same.
There was no life, like he was just written off. You know, when the spine, the actual vertebrae is broken. I'm very, very pleased to say, you know, he's 55 this year, and you know, as fit as a fiddle. And I think for him, he was heavily medicated. You would probably have been really heavily medicated, which then leads into depression as well, because then it's the withdrawal symptoms of that really heavy stuff that they put you on. It's quite toxic.
Yep.
So for Michael, I think it's that mind over matter, and I think that's what I'm hearing with you. It's just you suddenly recognise that actually this is not a healthy lifestyle, so how can I change it? So yeah, it's really interesting to hear your journey's kind of similar to Mike and what he's gone through.
Yeah, I think it was obviously when I was in the hospital, they basically said you're not going to walk again.
Yeah.
And if you do, you're going to be very limited, and it's not going to. And I sat there thinking, no, I'll show you. And I was determined. I was, I'll show you. I'll be back. And I used that to good effect at the time.
Yeah.
But as the time wore on, I wasn't going to be 100% as far as I could see it. I wasn't ever going to go back and play cricket again to the level I was playing it at. It was just never going to happen. And yes, the medication was horrendous. It was on constant painkillers and some very heavy doses of painkillers just to get through the day. And then when you add alcohol into painkillers,
it's a dangerous mix.
It's a very bad mix. And mental health just went out the window, as you probably expect it would do. And there were some very dark days, very, very dark days.
So you found yourself coming to Hobbiton, and you just fell in love with Hobbitland, and you thought, right, this is it, I can't go back to the UK. So you got your job at the school. So what got you back into your sports, your marathon running, your kayaking, your cycling? How brave did you have to be to go, I need to give that a go? Or did you just actually go, I'm just going to do it?
I think really what it was sort of slowly evolved over time as I was going through my day-to-day life. Obviously there was mountains in the background. Every time I was going to work I could see these mountains and I was going, we need to go and enjoy those again and go and sort of have some fun. So I started hiking, and that was great fun. Then I bought myself a mountain bike and took the risk of, well, if I fall off the bike I might break something, but hey, at least I'm going to have fun for the time being. And believe you, I've broken a few bones. I think the emergency ward here in Christchurch has got my name.
It's jam-packed full.
It's got my name underneath. I walk in there and they go, oh, what have you broken this time? We have an ongoing joke with them. So I sort of had that sort of passion and that sort of getting on the bike and going out in the hills. But it wasn't enough. There was no competitiveness to it. And I'm a very competitive person.
Oh, yeah.
So I needed to drive and I thought, well, what do I have to do? I met Katrina, who is my new wife, and we were going to get married. So we set a date to get married, and I was currently at the time, I was about 120 kgs, 130 kgs.
Right.
And I said to her, in 6 months' time, I'm going to basically spend 6 months losing weight.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to a set goal, and this is where we're going to be. And I went down that path, and I sort of went out riding, running. And I hate running, by the way. I really can't stand running. Running is not something I enjoy doing. But it was something, as I started to do it, I walked down the road. For the first 3 months, it was just walks. 5k walk, became a 10k walk, became a 3k run with a 7k walk, became a 5k walk with a 5k run. And I just suddenly started to build this up and got into this pattern of just doing it every day.
Yeah.
And then something in my head went, you're enjoying this.
Right.
You feel better every time you go out and do this. Not physically, but mentally. And it became apparent that, to me, getting out there and just going for a walk for an hour or 2 hours a day, or going for a run for an hour, my whole mindset was becoming just clearer and happier with life. It was basically my painkillers was running down the road. So I thought, well, okay, I can run. Why don't I enter a marathon? And a friend of mine said, well, we'll just do the half. We don't need to do a full one. So we did Christchurch half marathon around the airport. And I had a broken wrist at the time. Again, so cast up to here. I had a few painkillers inside me, and we went out for this run around on June in the freezing cold, thinking, why are we doing this? With another 10,000 people. And we did the half marathon, and I managed to get a time in just over 2 hours. And for a non-runner who was still slightly overweight, I went for this run and got to the finish. And I'd set myself a goal of beating 2 hours 30. And I beat it by some distance. When I got there, I went, the competitive edge is back. I want to beat this time. Right. I've got to do something now to beat this time. So the following year I did the full marathon. And the half marathon was just never going to happen. So it's going to be the full marathon this time. So my first full marathon was Queenstown in the November of the same year. Day before the event, I hadn't got an entry. Someone hurt themselves and said, do you want to go? I've got the hotel booked, everything's ready, just take my ticket and off you go. So I drove down to Queenstown and run the marathon the following day. It was hard. Very, very hard. It was the first Queenstown marathon. There was a storm that blew up on the river, also on the lake. Bits of trees were falling down and hitting us, and I was going, why are you doing this? But every step I took, it was like, yeah, you do know. You do know why you're doing it. And I got to the end. It was a horrendous time of about 5 hours in freezing cold, hypothermic. But I got to the end and I thought, well, I've come from laying in a hospital bed, not being able to walk, to finishing a marathon. Okay, so what's next? So I looked around and I knew I liked my mountain biking, I knew I liked my kayaking, and I liked being up in the hills. Someone mentioned a race called God Zone. Right. And God Zone is 7 days, 300 odd Ks of a non-stop race with 3 other people. And I went, yep, that's me. Let's have a go.
Yeah.
And that's my attitude now. It's let's have a go.
Okay.
If you fail trying, at least you've tried.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I now see things.
Okay.
So I went for a wee jaunt around Nelson for 7 days with 3 strangers.
Yeah.
We kayaked across the open ocean and mountain biked around the mountains, hiked over mountains that became, we bonded as people because we didn't know each other, and that was a whole experience. We had this one guy he's a mountain rescue guy, and he was very good on the mountains, walking and getting up and doing his map reading, whereas my strength was mountain biking and the kayaking, and we did that. We even got thrown into a whitewater raft and chucked down a grade 4 river with no experience, and the first corner we got to, we all went that way and the boat went that way. Popped up in the middle of the river going, well, that was fun. Over to the boat again, back in again. And the adrenaline was just fantastic. And we finished the race. We did 5 days, 20 hours, and finished just coming up to midnight on a sea kayak in swell of 4 metre swell. Yeah. And just loving it. Yeah. Absolutely loving it. Got to the end and just went, cool. And so that we did as well. We raised some money for the Mental Health Foundation here in New Zealand doing it. And it's when the charity fundraising came in, I thought, well, if I'm going to do this stuff, I'm doing it for my own benefit, let's do it for somebody else's as well. Let's try and get some money out of people and let other people have a chance of
contributing.
Of either contributing, as you say, or hopefully being able to see that it's not just about taking meds, it's about getting out there, because mental health has 2 ways of being able to fix itself. One is you take the chemicals to balance everything off, but long term you need to find ways of being able to cope with anxiety and stress and bits and pieces, and this is what this does for me. Getting out in the hills and the mountain bike, it helps me through that whole process, and hopefully other people can see that, and they can take some inspiration from it and go out and do it. Yeah,
that's why you're on the show, Chris. That's why you're here. We're going to take just a quick break, because I want to come back and talk about, you've got your big expedition in France next year, I think, if I've recalled that rightly.
France has been moved to the following year now.
Oh, has it?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that when we come back. So we'll take a quick break, we'll listen to a message, and we'll hear about this exciting fundraising opportunity.
The Good Vibrations podcast would not be possible without the support of Phyllis Brown. For personal development and life coaching sessions, theta healings and spiritual insights, go to phyllisbrown.co.nz to book a session in person, on the phone or by Skype today.
Right, so I think this is where I was quite intrigued. We're at the networkers, and we all network together, and your exciting news had nothing to do with your business, but we're all about, I've just been invited on this amazing journey, which is, I think it's the prequel to the Tour de France. But if you could just explain to the listener what it is that you're going to be doing, because I just think it is amazing.
Okay, so over the next couple of years, I've decided that we're going to do some quite major projects. First one is to run all 6 of the major marathons of the world. Okay. So that's London, Tokyo, Berlin, Chicago, Boston and New York.
Right, okay.
So that's the 6 majors, and to do those you need something, there's got to be something wrong slightly somewhere in you. And so I've set myself a goal for next year to do that. As of last Friday, I finally got my flights booked for London. Right. So that's all been sorted. Yeah. Funny enough, that's the first race I'm doing for this Big 6, and it just happens to coincide with another April date. Right. Because April comes up in my life quite a bit. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting time. Again, I'm running for Mind, which is the UK version of the New Zealand Mental Health Foundation, and I'm also going to be raising money for these guys here in New Zealand as well at the same time. Once I've done those 6 events, I'm also going to be running 7 marathons in 7 days.
Wow.
On 7 continents.
Wow. Is that a whole squad of you all doing that? Are you just doing it?
I'll be doing it as an individual, but there's a group of people that go around and do this. So we start off in Antarctica.
Right. Wow.
Fly from Antarctica to South Africa. Yeah. South Africa to Australia. Australia then to Dubai. Madrid, if they keep it in Madrid, which gives the European leg, and then over to South America, then finish in Miami.
Right.
All in 7 days.
Wow. Oh
and that's in January.
Right.
So that's going to be an interesting journey. Yeah. But I think once you get going, it's only 240 k's. Hey, just keep going.
Just, Chris, just 240 k's. I love how you just put that out there.
It'll be the same as doing God's Own, but without the mountain bike and without the mountains. Yeah. Just flying in between. At least I sleep on the plane. That's what I'm thinking. Not sure it's going to work that way, but hey. Yeah. And then comes France. So the Tour de France is something, as a kid, I used to watch. Yeah. I used to love watching it. It used to be on. We had people like Sean Kelly, who used to ride his bike, and being from Irish descent, he was always our hero. Yeah. And he would be up the front, and I used to just watch it as a kid, come home from school, and it used to be on. They used to do an hour on Channel 4, and it used to be just fun to watch. Yeah. And it was something I thought, one day I wouldn't mind just doing this. Yeah. But I thought, no, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to be a cyclist. It's not really what my skill set was. And then 2 guys up in Auckland have come up with this crazy plan, which they did. The first one, they did the test last year, where they take a group of 12 people out to follow, or not follow the tour, to go ahead of the tour a day ahead and basically ride the entire course. Right. And I saw this and went, this is mad. And I contacted them and said, are you sure? And they said, yeah, would you like to come? And I was like, love to. So it's basically leading the Tour de France, I suppose you could say. Which is, amazing thing. So it's 3,200 kilometres, of which we're talking going up some of the biggest mountains in Europe. Riding from pretty much the top of the north of France all the way down through the Pyrenees, over to the Pyrenees, and then back through the Central Alps, and then finish in Paris on the day before the big guys come through. So that opportunity has come up, and it's certainly something, and these guys want to do it for Mental Health New Zealand as well.
Right, is that who they're fundraising for? Yeah.
Which is where I sort of know them from. And I thought, well, this ties in nicely with how I feel and my strengths, or my beliefs are. And if we can raise
some good funds
for these, I've set myself a lofty target to raise over the next 2 years for all of this. Which is $1 million. Right. Big number, but there's a lot of events there. And so, so that's where you go. So 30 weeks as of yesterday to the start of the first race. Right, okay. So my training starts now. Okay.
So if people want to get connected, if people want to maybe sponsor you, or maybe there's some equipment that you might be needing, or if anybody wants to back you and just give you a donation, how can they get in touch with you? What's the best?
So currently I'm building a website. Right. It's going to be called 7 in 7 in 7. Yeah. That's the working title. Yeah. It may change, but currently my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, would probably be the best place to get hold of me straight away. Okay. It's pretty easy to find me.
Yeah, Chris Bennett.
Yep. And then when you find me, you'll see that I'm an adventurist. Okay. It will say in my title who I am. Yeah. And then from there, I'll have links to to a page once I've got it going, running.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, so I'm looking for a couple of major sponsors.
Okay.
Because obviously these events are not cheap.
No, so we're looking for someone like Bike Barn or somebody to come up and give you even some equipment.
Equipment-wise, it's basically running shoes. A lot of the stuff. So I mean, I've got for the race itself, I've got a bespoke bike which I've got for myself. So it's really mainly looking for that sponsorship dollar, to be fair. To help me just basically build that through. I'm also looking for a publicist to publish a book. I'm writing a book about the whole process, right from go to finish. First chapter's written.
Good.
Which is the introduction about why I'm doing it all. And then it starts from the training right through to the event
itself.
And how that's going to go. And it's going to be, the book I'm hoping is going to be in two parts. So basically one's going to be the why. And the next part is how. And the how, and sort of a day-to-day sort of blog about how things are going. It's like a blog style book on how those things are going and how they're affecting me and people around me, and obviously thanking the people that jump on board.
So I think the takeaway message for you, for any of our listeners out there, even when they've had a severe injury like yourself, like my partner has, as I say, he broke his back in the army. It is about just that mind over matter. It's about having that process and that aspect of thinking, I can do this and I can do that. I think it's that positive mental attitude. It is just, yes, it's going to be hard. There's no doubt about it, but the message is talk about it. If it's mental health, please just talk about it. Don't bottle it up. My uncle did that. Didn't help him. It didn't help his family. No.
And we all still hurt, and I was 17 when he did this. He was my older brother, so he lived in our house. I grew up with him in the house, and losing him was a big hit for me, because I was the oldest. I'm the oldest brother of my family, and knowing that point of that dark point, he must have got to in his life, because believe you me, I've been there. And you just take a step back. So if you're ever in that situation, seek help. And that's got to be the message for everybody here, is just don't take no for an answer. If you speak to someone and they're not interested, speak to somebody else. Someone will be interested. There's a website, Live More Awesome. They're an Auckland-based company, charity, and they have a whole heap of stuff about the mental, physical approach, rather than just taking meds. And we've got a wonderful Facebook group in there that we all stick together and we all help each other. And I've had phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning from people who are struggling, and I've been at that point as well where I've sort of felt not quite there yet. And I've spoken to people and they just put you on the right path again, and we bounce off each other. And so if you can find that
sense of community,
that community, or that one person, even if it's not a community, just someone you can rely on to get that message through. And if you can get that message through, the help is there. And seek the help before you do anything else. Because there's no coming back from. Unfortunately. I know. My sister-in-law committed suicide many years ago, and the family really struggled with the why. You will never know the why. We'll never know the why. It's the why. It's the anger. It's the disappointment. It's the failure. Because you feel like you failed him, because you weren't there for him.
That's it.
And you're angry at him. Because he's done it. And he's put everyone else through this, and it did really severely damage our family, and there's no doubt about it. But he didn't do it for that.
No.
He didn't see it, and that's the problem with mental health. People don't see what's going on and underneath, and that's why I want to get this message out to people and try and get people just to ask for help. John Kerwin, when he came out with his stuff, absolutely inspirational. It took mental health in New Zealand from that hidden dark place. They didn't speak about it. To at least people talking about it. There was, John Kerwin, an All Black. Hey, he can't be depressed. Well, He was.
He was, yeah.
And is. It's just, you never get over it. He's just always still got that thing around.
Yeah.
And what he's done is brought that up.
Yeah.
And now we just want to get it going. Keep it going, going, because it's killing our kids, it's killing our young, and it's killing our friends and family.
Well, just to open up to our audience, so has anyone in the audience got any questions or comments for Chris?
From the time you start your marathon to what's the duration to the final run that you actually do?
Okay, so the first marathon is in April. Unless I go in to do Tokyo first. I haven't decided whether I do Tokyo first, but London is going to be, at the moment, the first one, and that's April, and then I basically run from April through until July of next year, of the year after, sorry, so 2020. So that's the Tour de France time. So I should have done all 13 marathons by then, and then do the Tour, and then have a rest. Might do a couple of little fun runs just for
just a little,
just to keep legs going.
Chris, what do you do in your downtime? Like, you know, if you get any to yourself, how do you recover and recharge and care for your body, like food wise, or just to care for it? You don't want to keep burning away all the time.
No, that's true. So basically now for the next 30 weeks is when I now start training. I'm getting over an ankle injury, and I've been out of training for about a year. So now I'm starting now to get back into the training. So the first 12 weeks of that training period is basically all aerobic. So it's basically going for walks, stretching out, just doing easy stuff. So it's basically training the body to get ready for the training. Then I'll spend, it's a really weird concept, but it's the best way to do it. Otherwise you just go, people go hard out straight away and they end up just doing more damage and hurting themselves. And basically the other plan of that 12 weeks is to bring the weight down as well. So, because that causes injuries as well. Being out for a year has not been great for the body. So, so that way I can then, I'm aiming for about 20 kgs over that 12-week to 15-week period. And then I'm going to be basically then running 4 days every week. So take a couple of days each week off. The day normally consists of, in the morning, jumping on the bike, doing 15-20 k's on the bike, just around the local area on the flat, come home after work and go out for a 10 to 15k run depending on the day. And then I'm not a big believer in long runs, because there's two schools of thought with marathon running. It's either do masses and masses of miles, and then when you come to the week of your marathon, don't do anything, and then just do the marathon and you should be fresh and ready to go. I'm more of a believer of doing 5k's hard out in the evening, going to bed, getting up early in the morning, and then doing another 5 or 10k's hard out, because you've still got all that lactic in your legs and the bits and pieces, so it really does give you that go. So I don't end up doing 200k's a day, a week or whatever. I only do a smaller amount, but over a more intense period. There'll be a couple of long runs thrown in just to make sure I can actually still do them. But the rest of my downtime is spent with my kids. I've got 3 kids. One of them's a little 3-year-old and the other 2 are slightly older. So we go up in the hills and we go for walks and bits and pieces, just take the dog out for a walk. So it's still getting out, but it's
more relaxed.
Just relaxed.
Carry him on his shoulder instead.
Hey, no, I've got a backpack, and that's my profile picture on Facebook. He sits on my backpack, so we go out mountain hiking together. And he's 3 years old. He's been going since he was 6 months old, and he just sits in the backpack. And we go out for a walk. And it's quite funny when your backpack starts snoring at you. It's quite disconcerting as well. You're sort of walking along and you sort of wake up.
Yeah, awesome.
So he goes out and he enjoys the outside and
Fresh air for him.
Exactly, and he enjoys it, and hopefully he'll get some inspiration from going out. And continue to go out and start going out and start doing this stuff. I don't want kids that sit around playing PlayStations and Xboxes. I want them to be outdoor kids like I was when I was a kid.
Have you got a question, Julie?
Just what a toll on the body it's going to be.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not getting any younger. And I think once this is out of my system, if that's the right word,
Yes.
I think I might take another 6 months off, and then I want to walk to base camp.
Yeah.
There we go.
But that's
In Antarctica.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, base camp in bottom of Everest.
Oh, right. Oh, yep.
So Kathmandu to base camp,
Right.
which is a small hike.
Yeah.
So one of the big things here, the fuel that you're going to need, diet. And
Yep.
your diet is a big part of it, and also for mental health.
Yes.
Have you got a dietitian on board to help you with that?
I work with a company called CP, which is their old name used to be Complete Performance, but they're now just called CP, and they're a coaching organisation that also have nutritionists, and I've got, from my cricketing past as well, I've got a good idea of what's good, what's not so good, but you tend to slip into habits as well, especially when you've got a young family. You end up you eat what they're eating sometimes, and yeah, and you sort of sit there and go, I should not eat that, but I'm going to. But yeah, so when you're going out and doing all this stuff, obviously you're burning a lot of energy. Currently I'm storing enough energy to burn off, but once I start that gone, I need to put those sugars and those carbs into the system pretty quickly to keep them going a bit further. And I think the Tour de France is going to be a bit of a shock to the system, but the guys that are doing the tour, they're bringing an entourage with them, which have got nutritionists and various other bits and pieces as well with them. And at the end of the day, a good beer is always good anyway. So that's got plenty of calories in it for you. And it's earned.
It is. Well, that's beautiful, beautiful. So thank you so much for coming in. I found a little quote. This is from a book called Shit Happens, Get Over It, which I actually really, really liked because...
I quite like that quote.
Yeah, I quite liked it. And I just thought, it does. Stuff just happens. So the one that... I just opened the book today, and it's... and I think this is really you, probably. If you can't find a path with no obstacles, it probably doesn't lead to anywhere. And I think for you, you've certainly found a path that has succeeded and overcome all of the obstacles.
Yep.
And you've definitely got somewhere that you're going. You've got that vision, and you've got that goal, and you've got your other goal and your next goal. And I think that's the key thing. I think that's what's so inspiring about you, Chris, is that regardless of the obstacles of the past, or what obstacles that actually may be lying in the future, the path is still there. Coming. Yep. The path is still there. Yep. Yeah. It's just been a joy having you on, and we'll have our networkers tomorrow, so I'll see you tomorrow.
This is true. Yeah. Okay, we'll do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Take care for now.
The Good Vibrations podcast would like to thank the Phoenix Light Foundation for their support. Unlock your passion for crystals and open yourself up to the world of crystal healing with our self-guided crystal course that you can complete at your own pace online. With guided videos and written support exercises, you can enhance your life with crystal energy. Get 50% off today with the code PHOENIX50. Go to thephoenixlightfoundation.co.nz to start your journey.
So I hope you've enjoyed our conversation with Chris this evening, and as he said, remember to reach out and find the help that you need if you feel you're suffering from any mental health or anxiety issues. Next week in the studio we've got Julie Feckney. Now she's talking about a very similar set of circumstances. She's talking about the benefits of yoga, which she has used as a coping mechanism for her depression and anxiety. So again, join us and maybe get some tools that may help you find a tool or something that will help you in your time of need. Remember, if you've enjoyed the show, you can join us or find us on Instagram, Facebook and my website, which is phyllisbrown.co.nz. And also remember to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts or iTunes and Spotify and even YouTube. The great thing about the show is that you can subscribe and share this information with your friends, your family. And remember, every time you do that, you're spreading the good vibrations out there. Bye for now.
This podcast was brought to you by the Phoenix Light Foundation. For personal development courses, visit thephoenixlightfoundation.co.nz and use the code PHOENIX50 for 50% off all courses. Thank you for listening to this episode of Good Vibrations, which discuss topics related to suicide and depression. If you or someone you know is suffering with depression or suicidal thoughts, reach out and talk to someone who can help. For more information, visit depression.org.nz. If you'd like to talk to someone, you can call Lifeline on 0800 543 354 or the Suicide Crisis Helpline on 0508 828 865.